Okay. Okay, can you hear me? That's strange. Okay. Guys, can you give me confirmation if you can see my screen and that you can hear me very clear? I'm about to start the webinar. Just please know that the event is being recorded and the recording will be available after this session. Okay, someone can see me. Okay. So yeah, we're starting now. Hi everyone. My name is Glenn Zime, and I'm the Rectron Cloud Solutions Specialist. I had the Azure department. With myself, I have Kamu here. He is our RCT Cloud Support Specialist. He mainly deals with the support inquiries and anything in regards to support. So this is the start of our webinar series. It will be ongoing as to tackling real life scenarios which partners are facing with your customers. So we have the chat open here. I will be taking questions and we are very much excited to showcase this webinar, quickly deploy, migrate applications and websites using Azure App Services. So Microsoft Azure has been growing quite significantly along the years. And currently right now they have invested so much in open source technologies. So most of you partners hosting websites, are hosting applications and databases for your customers. So I'm keen to get future topics from you guys as well. If you have any suggestions or you'd want us to feature your topic on my upcoming Azure Thursday webinars, you feel free to reach out to me or to my team, and then we will take that into consideration. Okay, so first and foremost, just to introduce myself briefly, my name is Glenn again. They call me around here Dr. Azure. The reason being I've spent almost all my life, I'm born in the cloud. Currently, I'm the Azure Solutions Architect Expert, a charter member for Cloud Platform, and a specialist in infrastructure solutions in Azure. So as you know, Azure is quite huge. You just need to focus on something and master it. So my major is researching automated private and public clouds. And also I do most stuff for IT pros and dev guys. So today's session is more dev focused. However, my upcoming sessions also will cater for IT pros. I'll keep it as simple as possible and take you through each and every step. Okay. So we have a challenge. Okay, we have a challenge whereby now you as partners or CSP resellers providing solutions to your end customers, and one of your end customer today it happens that he has a PHP website which they are currently hosting with X hosting provider. So currently, the provider is giving them downtime, and the website is really supporting their business and is their core investment. So you, as a CSP reseller, you've been nominated to be able to offer your services to them, and this is our problem statement for the day. So your customer is having an existing PHP website which needs to move into Azure App Services. So also they require collaboration platform for their dev guys, and it has to be a streamlined process. I mean, from developing the website, the code itself, to testing the website and publishing, pushing to production, and also on that during the process there have to be accountability in the process of moving the code into Azure. And also their platform that will be hosting the website should be ready to accommodate scale when there is need. I mean, take for example, the Black Friday, all the buyers are now hitting the web server very hard, the traffic is spiking. You'd obviously need a solution which can scale when demand arises. So currently, I'll just move to my demo, because these webinar Azure Thursdays are more hands-on. So if you love slides, I'm very sorry. Please forgive me. Just for today and the upcoming series, I would want to tackle the most problematic issues you are facing as partners. So currently, what I'm having here is I'm actually sharing with you. Okay. So I'm sharing my browser here. So I have my Azure environment open here. So it is now a requirement for you to have an Azure subscription. If you don't have an Azure subscription as yet, please get in touch with myself. Get in touch with myself and ensure that I get you hooked with the CSP subscription. Now, the nice thing about the CSP subscription is the pricing which you get as a partner is significantly less because you are a CSP reseller. So if you are doing it directly with Microsoft, well, thanks, but you will be charged more than what CSP is charging currently. So as you can see here on my screen, we have app services here on the left. Just to explain my setup, I currently have an Azure VM. This VM is currently running Visual Studio 2017. So it is acting as my dev bench. So it's running Server 2016 data center with 8 CPUs and 16 gig of RAM. I'm running a premium SSD. To make sure that this demo is a success. So now, also here, I have app services set it up in time. So I've created an app service. So just to give you a guide on how to go about creating an app service. So app service, this is where now you host your applications and websites in Azure. So you can run any language from Node.js, PHP, .NET, HTML, whatever the language you need to run, you can run it in app services. And also it is supported on both Linux and Windows platforms. So for you to run Linux workloads, you can do app service for Linux or app service for Windows. So just quickly, I'm taking you through to the setup on how to get started with app service. You just need to set it up in hand before you can move anything into the cloud. So obviously, you will need to create a resource group. You would need to give it a name, and it will be having this Azure. Now you have the capability to bring your own domain name into Azure, then you no longer need to use this generic one here. Okay. So guys, if you're having any issues, just keep letting me know. But so far, I will continue. So here you will see that you can also do code or Docker. I'm sure in my future upcoming demos, one of you guys would require us to go through containers. But for now, we're doing code. And we have to also choose the runtime stack. This is what I've discussed. You can run the .NET Core applications and also the ASP.NET, Java, Node. Also, you have your PHP stack, you have your Python and Ruby, and also other languages are supported as well. So if I select Windows as well, you can do other languages as well. So you will have an option. And thanks to Microsoft, by launching our data center, we can now deploy to South Africa North, which is our closest data center as in now. And coming down here, you'll obviously select your app service plan depending on the price tier, the compute resource you need for your app. And then obviously the end result, you'll be met by this one, which I've already pre-created. Obviously, it's running on South Africa North. And from South Africa North, it's, okay, so I just need to turn off something here. It's disturbing me. Okay, so it's running South Africa North. I'm using this premium service plan just for this demo, and also coming down here and use campaigns. This is what you get out of the box. So now also coming down here, we have deployment slots. Now this is the important selling feature with Azure App Service. So basically with deployment slots, you can set up deployment slots for, you can have like, I'm having like dev, test, and production. So currently, as you can see, production is running. And with my production running, that means my users are actually seeing this website here. So basically this one, I'll just do a refresh. So this is what they are seeing as in now, as it's a sample media library. One of our dev guys made a huge mistake and wrote the name here. And yeah, it's very bad. So this is what we gonna touch base on, streamlining the process, putting accountability there. So so yeah, and then I'm also having my dev test environment. So now this is where now, before we push any code to production, we're gonna push it to our dev test environment, which is running live. And then we are going to perform tests. And if we are happy, then we can perform a swap. So the swap button takes dev to production, production to dev. That's basically it. And then also here, we have several ways to deploy our code. So as in now, I'm using Azure DevOps. So with Azure DevOps, basically, I can connect to my repository. I'll take you through each and every step on how to go about doing that. So let me just check for this app service if I can see the deployment center. I want to actually show you how it looks like. So basically, after deploying the app service, this is what you'll be met with. So you can now deploy your code from multiple locations. So you can deploy from the Azure repository. If you have GitHub for source control, so basically where your dev guys are pushing code to centralize your code, so you can do local Git. Also, you can deploy from OneDrive or Dropbox. And most commonly for you partners who are currently hosting with these other hosting providers, you will be pushing your code from FTP. So from FTP, that's when now if I can select FTP and then I hit dashboard, then I'll have to obviously insert my credentials to connect to my FTP server and allow me to get my code from my FTP server. So now for interest sake, what I will do now is I'll show you my virtual machine here. So I'm having my VM. Okay. So I'll just quickly try to reconnect. Okay. So Just give me 1 second. I'm connecting now to my VM where I'm running my Visual Studio 2017. So I'll just quickly hit connect. Load. So now this is what I'm illustrating now. This is your typical environment. This is your typical environment whereby you are now having your dev guys with their workbench set it up ready. So here, as you can see, this is my Visual Studio 2017. I know already we have 2019. 2019 is out. So basically, this is the PHP code. Okay, so it's basically my index page. Forgive me with my poor programming. I know you guys can do it better than myself. So what I'll do here is this is our sample website, the one we are currently pushing. So what's happening is what I can do is I can come here and say, let's say Azure Thursdays is cool. So now I'm just changing a header to Azure Thursdays is cool. And then what I'll do, obviously, as a developer, I'll hit save. So now, normally what they normally did is they would now take the code and now push it to their hosting provider and the website is up and running. But in this case, I have Azure DevOps connected to my workbench. So Azure DevOps is a platform which allows us to centralize our code. So basically, multiple developers can work on the same code, and when they push their changes, they can even do comments. So as in like now, I will click on changes. Now I'll have to insert a message to let other developers know of what I've done. I mean, I know this setup is not complete because I'm pushing straight to the master, which is wrong. You're supposed to push to the branch. So from the branch, then it can move to the master if everything is right. So I'll say change title, Azure, my spelling, Azure days. So what I'll do is here, I'll hit commit and push. Now, commit and push, what it does is you can now push the code, commit it and push the code to Azure DevOps. Now, what's happening is you'll see up here, there is synchronization happening right now. And then if everything goes right, then it will tell us that it has successfully pushed the code to the origin master. Now I'll exit my workbench here. So now I'll stop sharing my screen. Okay. So what I'll share is I'll go back to my web browser. So now from my web browser, what's happening is here, this is Azure DevOps. So in Azure DevOps, this is where now we can set up projects. I'm already having this project called test. Actually, you can hit the plus sign and create your own project. And from your project, then now you will create a repository where you'll keep all your files. As in now you can see that I have my files and you can actually see a comment there, changed title to Azure Thursdays. So how can I clearly see this? I can see through the commits. So now if you hit commits, these are all the commits I have performed, me as Glenn. So imagine you have multiple developers committing the same code, but with different changes to the same repository. So as you can see here, change titles to Azure Thursdays. So you can also click on it and actually see what was the change. I can see now the change was, there was a change, a removal of boring movies to Azure Thursdays is cool. So this is what happened. Okay, I'm happy with it. So now with Azure DevOps, to streamline the process, we have what we call pipelines. So imagine a pipeline is the stages which the code and before going to production. So what happens now is you can see now there is something happening here, and it's saying changed title to Azure Thursdays. So this is the build process. Now to explain the build process, now that same code of your PHP website is being now hosted in Azure in a sandbox inside Visual Studio 2017, but running in Azure. So then if everything goes right, it will give you all the success. And now after the building, then it's time now to release the code. Now, the release phase, this is the important part whereby now you have to define the stages and say, okay, under my releasing, I'm having deploy to testing and deploy to production. Now, let me explain these two stages. Now, the deploy to testing, basically we are taking our code, deploying into our slot for dev test. So as you can see now, it's saying deploy to testing succeeded. So that means everything is okay to me. Now, when I head back to Azure App Services, now I'll go to my app service, the demo one. Now I'll go to Deployment Center. Now, under the Deployment Center, where I've configured Azure DevOps to speak to app services, so what happens now is you can see currently there is release 15 and that build number, and you can see the time it's that's the time. So the more you push your code through Azure DevOps, it will also give you a timestamp. So what we can do also, we can just perform some refreshes. So you can do refresh, and make sure that everything is fine. So this time is wrong because my VM obviously it's not configured correctly. So now under the deployment slots, okay, so under the deployment slot, what I'll do is I'll click on my dev test. Now I'm inside my dev test environment slot. So it's a full app service, but it will just run my test environment. So what is nice with Azure App Services, we can test in production. So you can test your application in production. So what I'll do, I'll keep on clicking here on wow. So this was quick. So Azure Thursdays is cool. Okay, typo with my E. So we can see now the website is updated, but this didn't go straight to production because remember, we need accountability and we need a person to be held responsible. So now going back to my pipeline, I can see now that deploying to testing is complete. Now here's the interesting step. I've inserted a new stage called production. So with production, we are saying now we are happy on what's happening on our test, and the customer has approved, saying that, okay, I'm happy with what I see. My customers are ready to see the new changes of my website. Now, we do not want to send anything to production. I'm just answering that question from Brad Ruth, which he is saying now, can you restrict role access to swap dev to production? Yes, we can. And also we can automate the whole process, as you can see from here. Basically, only Glenn can approve changes to deploy to production. Now, remember, I need to also be accountable as the manager. So the person who can approve has to have the rights as the approver. And then also they need to put a comment. Now here, before we deploy to production, basically there is a comment which I'll need to put and say, okay, I'll say I am happy with title change. Okay, so what we can do also is we can defer deployment for later. So maybe basically you just need to check up with the dev guys and say, okay, guys, this is what's happening. This is good. Or what you can do, you can also reassign it to a second person who can then go through the environment and make sure that everything is fine. So before I push to production, I'll actually show you that our live environment is still running intact with our previous code. So I'll go to RCT demo 1. So this is my live environment. So now here I will get my URL. So here is my URL. So if I hit my URL, I see now my customers are still seeing Cine website. However, on our test environment, we still having Azure Thursdays is cool. So we just need one person to approve who has the magical powers to hit that blue button and say approve. Now, if I hit approve, now what will happen is it will say approved on this date, and this is the message. Now, that message now will be stored, and now you'll see now the deployment to production is in progress. If I drill down to this whole process, so this is actually nice. It is a transparent system which can show you each and every step on how is it starting from the beginning till the end. Now, what it is doing is it is deploying the agents, which will then take the code and push it straight to my production slot. So I know other dev guys are doing it the other way, so push to test and then do the swap from the Azure portal. But I'm showing you a new approach and actually a nice feature which works hand in hand and perfectly with Microsoft Azure. So this, you can't find it from any other hosting provider, even the big guys, you can't. Azure and Microsoft, they pledge themselves with this, and actually it can simplify your life. If you are a guy who's hosting websites, you can use Azure DevOps. If you are deploying virtual machines, you can streamline the process of deployment for VMs using Azure DevOps. So for you IT pros who are hiding at the corner, I can see you there. So this platform is also for you. It's not only for websites, but also for you guys to push your deployments for virtual machines, Azure SQL databases, so you can do everything from here. So now, basically, the agent is speaking to app services, and what it will do now, it will now go ahead now and kickstart the job. So I'll just keep on hitting the refresh just to check. So, okay, I can see now what happened is it initialized the job. Now it downloaded the files and pushed the code to Azure App Services. Now, when it is pushed to Azure App Services, what happens? You can click on that process and check the verbose output. I mean, you can check from getting the God connection details, packaging using the zip. So it's basically zipping the files of my website. What it does, it updates all modules to the latest one, generates scripts. Now you can see the copying. So the part I'm highlighting, this is where it is copying all my PHP files into my production slot. After what it does, it will give me the finished successfully. And you will see now it quickly performs a restart in 10 seconds, within 10 seconds. So this is the nice thing about app services. It's actually running in a VM, in a container, and it spins up very fast. So actually, if you can come back to my Azure App Services environment in Azure, I'll go back to my deployment center. So now what I want to check is the release successfully applied? So you can see now currently 10:30, there was a successful deployment to production. So you can also monitor the release numbers that, okay, on release 15, we released this code change on release 17, 19. So the naming, you can come up with it yourself. You can use any naming convention. You can use any build number convention. So this is the hash. Okay, so this is the hash. You don't have any control to change it. So what I'd want to do is I'd want to go back to my live website, Cine website, and now perform a refresh. Bang, Azure Thursdays is cool. So this is how you can now streamline your deployment from code to Azure DevOps, streamline and create a pipeline. After the pipeline, then push into Azure. So I hope this was a highlighter for most of you. For those of you who are already doing this, great. Thanks for using the latest and greatest powers of Azure DevOps. And just to explain something, the Azure DevOps environment that I'm using, it's a free SKU. So you can have the free SKU for Azure DevOps and the paid SKU. So for guys who are small, I mean, you are 1, you are 2, you don't constantly push a lot and a lot of changes, you can use the free version. Now, for guys who are actually pushing quite a lot and you would want multiple pipelines to deploy at the same time, multiple tests, then you would want now to use the paid version. If should you want pricing, get in touch with myself. I can quote you on Azure DevOps. But just to get started, to get things rolling, I would highly suggest you go to azuredevops.com, get a free account, set up this. Basically, it's a step-by-step process. You won't even get lost. Also, for guys who are doing testing, you can now hook up any testing mechanism you are using into this platform. Right now, you can see I'm not doing any tests. So you can do using XUnit, Mocha, Jest. You can do any platform you use existing or you are willing to learn. So testing, it will simulate as if users are there, stress the code, stress test the system and everything. So yeah, this is a nice platform. Actually, I would want to show you something under releases to show you that there is quite a lot of power here. So what I'll do is I can edit my release pipeline. Now I can add a stage here. Now check what we are able to do. We can do deploy a Java app to app service. If you had that question, we can. And you can deploy app service with a database for MySQL. Imagine pushing your code and the database changes from your local machine into Azure. You can do Python for guys who are doing Python programming, they can. Also IIS, you can do deploying to IIS and SQL, and there are others as well. You can do cloud service deployment, you can perform VM scale sets, you can do Azure functions, you can perform Ruby. So basically you can do anything here. If I can type SQL, these are all the options I have for SQL. Or you can start with an empty project and then proceed from there. So if I can type maybe tests, so maybe you can run automated tests from Test Manager. So if you have an account for Test Manager, I think it's Azure DevOps Test Manager. It is a paid SKU. So you can divert your pipeline to perform a test before it takes to testing environment and then production. So I'll just, for interest sake, do an apply here. I'll say maybe test one. I mean, one, it's fine. Okay. So I can perform the test one, and these are the 3 tasks I have to perform. So the tasks are, I have to connect to my Azure subscription, which I already have. Okay. So I'm already connected to this one here. And then I can connect to the app service name if I want to. So it will load the app service name here. I believe I'm running web app for Linux. Let me just check on that one. So you can basically do this. So I'm running web app on Linux because of PHP, runs on open source. So that's my first step. After, what you can do is you can perform web performance tests. So you can stress it maybe to 25 user load for 60 seconds. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just say 50 users for 60 seconds. And then, yeah, let it automate everything. And then, yeah, when it's done, and then we can tell if our application can handle this or not. So what I'll do is, okay, so let me just check if I do have any pipeline connections. No, it's fine. So you can play around the system. Okay, I'll just say test. So you can play around the system, see what you can do on your side. I mean, it takes time. With also myself, I took time learning the platform, and every day I'm learning. So do you. So you can do such things. And now going back to your pipeline, then you will see now that actually you will have another stage, which is diverting before you can also actually perform a test, deployment to test and deployment to production. So if I click edit again, I actually want to go back to that pipeline. So you can see now, here's the test. test one, you can see it's diverting. So it's giving you a nice GUI, basically to deploy your app into app services. So going back to now to app services with the remaining minutes, I hope you understood the Azure DevOps very good, very well. So now let me speak on certain features which you can get. So what you can do authentication and authorization. So basically you can allow your application to authenticate using your authentication provider of your choice. And the nice one also is when you are doing identities, whereby now you will be now connecting to the Azure AD, or if you are doing keys, maybe you are storing your keys for your connection profile, then you can store them inside Azure Key Vault. So everything is self-explanatory in the system, as well as backups. Should you want to perform backups on your app service, you can perform backups and restore, and also snapshots. This is the part where you can perform custom domains. You can do custom domains, HTTPS, set up also SSL. So you can also click the buy domain. I believe it will take you to GoDaddy because they have a partnership with GoDaddy. So, or you can use your existing domain, bring it over here, and then now start using your current custom domain instead of the Azure websites.net. Also, should you want to perform HTTPS connections, you can do so here and add SSL bindings and certificate thumbprints. Obviously, you would obviously buy a certificate from a certificate of authority, and then which is public, then bring it over here, and then now flip all the switches to HTTPS only, or you can also set it on and off should you want to. Now, the nice thing about app service is you can do scale up. So scaling up, basically we are growing from what we are having now in terms of compute, as in now I'm using 3.5 gig of memory, the equivalent to a DV2 series VM. So you would know that the DV2 series, it has, I believe, 2 CPUs, one CPU, 3.5 gig memory. Should I need more performance for my app service, I can do that on the fly. So on the fly, meaning that you don't need to restart any of your websites. You can scale up on demand. And also for, this is for production. Also, you can get started with the free SKU. They give you 1 minute and 60 minutes per day for compute just for testing. Or you can start getting this one for 1.75 gig memory, which is equivalent to the A series VM. So the A series VM, obviously, you know that it's just for testing. But what I would suggest for production, go for this. You can start with this, see how it handles. If it can't, it's choking, you can scale it up. And also we have isolated environments. Basically, they create your own isolated environment, which you have your own VMs, your own network, your own storage. You're not sharing with anyone the platform. This is only you. So you can get more info about app service environments here under click learn more. Now the scale out, we are saying, okay, now we are currently having one instance. What happens if my website is under load and I need this website to grow? So what I can do auto scale, which is a feature which you get with Azure and no other hosting provider which you are currently dealing with, these local ones. So if I open enable auto scale, we can create a rule and say scale on a metric. So scale from a based on a metric, and I can add a rule. So my rule is saying, okay, what I'm doing is use an average CPU percentage. Okay, so what I can do, you can use based on CPU percentage, based on memory percentage, based on data in or out. So if you can see now, there is a huge spike in data into your environment. You can do based on that. You can do also with the total or the count. You can do based on the count. Okay, so I can say here, I want to add my custom value. Okay, so let me say You click here. So then you can also look at here and then what value you want. Maybe I can say 20. Okay. So I can run up to 20, I can see. So you can do a lot here. And then here's our CPU threshold. I can see how my application is performing currently. It's just under 18%. Now I can do, if the threshold is greater than 70%, I mean, you can adjust it to anything. You can adjust it maybe to 30% or whatever for 10 minutes. So that means this graph over here have to run consistently above 30% for 10 minutes. What it must do, it must increase the count by 1 instance. Okay. Now, what it will do, the same application, it will double it up. So it will run that same application times 2. And with Azure, with pay as you go, you only pay for what you use. So if it scaled with this 1 instance count for maybe 10 minutes, you'll be only charged for 10 minutes. Now, what is the cooldown time? Cooldown time is the time it should listen to this CPU utilization. Then after 5 minutes, if this is now less, then what it can do, it can perform a decrease or whatever action you want. So I can perform add, okay? So you can also create a condition if you want. You can do that from there. And then, yeah, so then basically then you can kickstart everything automated, auto scale. So what happens is if my website, this website is currently getting quite a lot of hits. So right now I'm trying to simulate test, but I'll show you the part where you can simulate test. So if your website is getting hits, obviously you can also monitor and check, oh, it's getting hits. Then the auto scale will kick in and then you can do scaling and scale down. So now let's check the other feature going down here. You can SSH into your machine and you can do performance tests. So now performance test is a built-in feature. So what you can do is you can create new tests. Okay, so I can click new. Okay, I'll just call it manual test, or you can perform tests using Azure DevOps. So I have a question here. Does the info pull through from DevOps to portal automatically? Yes, but you can set it up to be manually pushed by you from Azure DevOps. So the whole process here is about continuous integration and continuous deployment. It is automated. I'm not touching anything. The only button I pressed, it was approved. So that's the question I've posted there. So you can keep your questions coming. So proceeding now with the performance test, I'll say maybe test 1. Generate load from where? So currently they are using other regions. So I would say perhaps maybe from East Asia, from the Chinese guys, 250 users for 1 minute for the sake of the demo. Then I can hit run test. What it will do now, it is creating a DevOps process, the same we had on our pipeline. Then it will perform the stress test to our website. So what will happen is after it has started this process, I'll actually show you the graphs in real time that you can actually monitor your ingestion into your website here in Azure. Gone are the days whereby you are hosting just the application or the website. That's it. You don't know what will happen to it when the load comes. How can you mitigate that? If there is ransomware or if there is a DDoS attack, how can you mitigate those? How can you monitor? How can you scale? So yeah, you can do everything from Azure. So this is the way and the truth and the life of IT and development. So, so one question which one can ask is, Glenn, what happens? I've set it up auto scale and I get a DDoS attack. Okay, so what can I do, or what will happen to my application? Will it scale to accommodate the DDoS and I get charged for DDoS? So now the answer is no. So why am I saying no? Microsoft have what we call the graph. So the Microsoft Intelligent Graph will actually absorb the DDoS before it even hits your application. So the scaling will only perform by legitimate traffic. So not traffic which is originating from unknown sources or for malicious purposes. So now, as you can see, our test run is getting started. Okay, so actually, it's still acquiring resources after 14 minutes, then it will perform the test because I'm using the free SKU. So actually, this is where you can see your usage. And from here, you can actually, it will show you a graph. So I can see we are 10 minutes before closure of our webinar. Unfortunately, you won't see this part, but should you want to see this part, get in touch with myself. Get yourself a CSP Azure subscription for your internal purposes. So basically, you'll be doing for proof of concept for your customers. I mean, this is the only way you can sell Azure to your customers. So you can do it from here, or you can do it from Azure DevOps. I have Ricky here saying, what are the development environments offered by Azure? So dev environments, okay, let me just come here under create resources just to answer your question. So you have web. We don't only have web apps, we have logic apps. We can do containers. We can do APIs. So you can host also your APIs in Azure and also app services. You can do mobiles. So you can do mobile apps. So if you have your mobile app and you want your application from mobile devices to speak to the backend in Azure, and if there's no network connectivity, it can cache the results, and when there's connectivity, it can push them up. You can do so. Notification hub to relay messages, things like OTPs and messages. We can do also containers also as well for development. You can do Kubernetes. You can do Red Hat OpenShift, which is an automation platform for Kubernetes. So you can do also WordPress, SUSE. You have quite a lot, man. So get an Azure subscription, get in touch with myself. Yeah, I can explain further. And also for SQL, we have also SQL databases. Also for MySQL, open source guys are smiling right now. Azure is prides itself to over Azure databases for MySQL. So you can also do PostgreSQL and also Oracle. Guys who are doing Oracle, caching with Redis Cache. So you can do also Redis Cache as well. So so now Brad, I see he's heating up the conversation here. So can you simulate tests for different access platforms such as desktop, mobiles, mobile to mobile? So I mean, Azure DevOps, it's huge. So from the Azure platform, from here, it's quite limiting. But actually, if you do the Azure DevOps, there is test environments or test packages. So if I can come here, actually you can add stages here, which mainly are targeting tests. And I believe for mobile, you can do tests for mobile apps on Visual Studio, but this one now it will be targeting Azure. So yes, you can do that in here. You just need to do thorough research. I'll also help you check out, and then you can also speak via mail and share our ideas on how to do that as well. Yes, we can perform tests for multiple applications. I'm just doing this demo for the PHP website, but if you have like a Java app, you have a .NET app, you can do it from here. And actually, Azure DevOps doesn't only push to Azure, you can push to any provider you are using through FTP or through whatever mechanism you can use to push the code. So yeah, we can do so. So yeah, I mean also can I also get some comments for guys who would want me to cover AI? So if you are keen to see some AI action on my upcoming webinars, just hit me with a like and a yes or whatever thumbs up you have there on your machine. So I'm able also to cover AI, getting started with AIs. So we can do also Internet of Things. So these are advanced topics. And then also under developer tools, I believe, Brad, you have to look at dev test labs. This is where now you can perform full tests for all your mobile apps and all the other features, desktops you want to test. So have a look at these. for dev purposes, this is time whereby you grow yourself, upskill yourself, and believe me, in the market, you'll be so unique than any other competitor if you are going this. I have a question from Ricky. When you launch a VM, you are not buying the OS, you are renting it, correct? So now, that's correct. So if you create a VM, so I'll just illustrate it quickly for you, Ricky. So if you create a new VM, so I would want to create maybe a Windows Server VM, 2019 data center. Now you have options. I mean, you have an option for Microsoft to give you the OS. The charge is included within the OS fee. And then you have an option to bring your own license using Azure Hybrid Benefit. So I'll be covering those also, I think, on my upcoming webinars, how to upsell, cross-sell Azure VMs. So you can now bring your on-prem licenses, but their license has to have software assurance. So it has to be like Windows Server 2012 license through volume licensing with software assurance to get this discount. But if you don't have that, yes, Ricky, you are right. You the cost for the license is inclusive also on your charge. So I see I'm having 5 minutes exactly to cover questions. If should you want to get in touch with myself, my email address is glennt. Actually, I'll post it under an announcement. So my email address is glennt@rectron.co.za. That is my email address. Should you want to get in touch with me, if you are not yet on CSP, you are missing out a big opportunity for you to make some money because there are more benefits, such as you can put margins on pricing, you can cross-sell and upsell yourself and your services. Get in touch with myself if you want to get started with Azure. You can give me also your contact details. I can get in touch with you, explain the whole process. Should you need an internal Azure subscription, because this is important, guys, I am limited to what I can provide support to. So if you are currently doing it with Microsoft directly, unfortunately, I can't. It has to be with us, the subscription. So basically, I'm the service for Rectron, and I'm servicing all resellers and partners for Rectron in Azure and CSP. And myself and Kamu, we are still waiting for questions. But if you want to get started with Azure DevOps, this is it. So you can create your own project from here. Then after, you can also set up pipelines. It's quite easy. Should you suggest me to have the topic of your choice on my upcoming webinars, Azure Thursdays, please send me an email. And also, we can have a chat. I mean, there are certain things myself I'm willing to learn from you, and you can learn from myself. Let's grow Azure and South Africa and show the world that we are also capable of doing such. So yeah, I'm still waiting for questions. But if you don't have, it was very lovely to have you in today's webinar. My next webinar will be dealing with migrating a SQL database into Azure. I'll be migrating it live here on the webinar. On the 30th, it will be next month. Please RSVP if you haven't done so. I'll be doing it live. And I'm keen also to have discussions with you on what challenges are you having. So yeah, so I'm taking questions. Let me check here. This side, I can see some questions. Okay. Oh, next week. Okay. So you can contact me directly, Ricky. Yeah, you can do it at the personal capacity for as long you are our Rectron reseller. So yes, you can do so. And then just send me your details via email so that we can get in touch. And then I can answer any other questions you might have. Myself, I said I'm an architect. Should you need also planning with some architecture, and I'm able to assist you for as long you are trading with Rectron as a CSP reseller, meaning we are your provider. We can do so. And then yeah, guys, it was lovely having you. The Q&A is still open even after this live broadcast has been stopped. Should you need anything else, please get in touch with myself, or there is a shared mailbox for my team where you can send also, you can put them on CC. I'm sharing it also on the Q&A. You'll see mvl@rectron.co.za. So this is the shared mailbox where you can also get in touch with myself, and also let me share my direct line should you need to reach out to me. So this is my direct line. I take calls. I try by all means to take all your calls, guys. And yeah, I'm looking forward to work with you from now onwards. Um, Thanks a lot for having and spending time, your precious time with us here. And also thanks to David, Digital Infinity Solutions, for helping us out to set up this and to be a success. Thanks to my colleague Dane Bloemfontein, Isael Ramu Eleti. He's also an Azure specialist based in Bloemfontein. Should you need him as well, get in touch with me. I can connect you to him. He is very much knowledgeable, and on my upcoming webinars, I'll be featuring him. And thanks to Kamu as well to help me check my questions, Q&A. Kamu, it was a pleasure to have you, and my colleagues are in the back end, Karen and everyone. Thank you so much. I will see you on our next week's webinar, Migrating SQL Databases into Azure. It will be a cool one. Thank you so much and have a lovely weekend. Thank you.